the front pages of the, I would say breakfast headlines. Yeah, and it's also headlines. The front pages of the newspaper. Yes, I was caught in many, many walls. And joining us this morning is Chief Coordinating Officer of Sustainable Stories, Mr. Uade Ayemia. One welcome to you and thanks for joining us this morning.
Good morning, Benga. Good morning, Oliver.
Good morning.
To have you back.
Great to.
I hope
Thank
enjoyed
you.
your holiday.
Well, was I away? It doesn't feel like I was away.
Okay.
Well, that was a long time ago. That was like over a month ago. That was
It was last year.
No, I wasn't.
No, you took a day, the day off.
Oh, I was unwell.
Yes,
Okay, I was unwell.
Are you better now?
Oh, yes, I am.
Okay.
Thank you for
Benga,
asking.
Yeah.
I hope you're not caught in this when you were trying to talk about...
No, not at all.
Okay.
You're welcome. And happy Armed Forces Remembrance and
yes,
Celebration
let's celebrate
Day.
our gallant officers and wish them well every day. Those who are continually trying to defend our nation from terrorism and banditry. So God bless you all, and I wish you all the best for the rest of the year.
Yes, and we appreciate the great work you do. But let's get straight into it. The first paper we will be looking at this morning is This Nigeria, and the headline says it's on a celebratory mode and celebratory note. Finally, FG ASU sealed deal unveil new agreement. Lecturers get 40% rise in salary, emolument to boost morale, timeline unstated as deal isolates non-academic staff. That's why we had the president of SANU this morning who was complaining that how do you have 4 children and then you only favor 1? And NASU, they're also threatening that they also need their own sides of the agreement to be fulfilled. TUC set for fresh showdown over Johesu salary structure. Still on the front page of This Nigeria, weak regulation, macroeconomic risk threatens bank recapitalization, experts warn. And FCT minister approves promotion of over 2,000 workers. EXCO warns land rent defaulters to pay up or face sanctions. And United States suspends visa processing for 75 countries, including Nigeria. I would like us to start with, since you're a money person and your background is economics and finance. Weak regulation, macroeconomic risk threatens bank recapitalization, experts warn. Why do we often go through this recapitalization process by the CBN? What's the point of it? And are there benefits? And what happens to banks that cannot meet up?
So why do we need them? You need to be sure that in terms of where big banks or banks that can handle large ticket transactions are, then you have that capitalization. Your capital base is
solid.
Yeah, aside from it being solid, is a good point to start, especially when it comes to looking at whether you want to handle transactions maybe like in hundreds of billions and so much. Because if you lose out on those kind of transactions, then the banks can collapse. So that's one. In terms of regulation, I haven't read the story in detail, but I don't think the regulations to a large extent are weak. The CBN has tried as much as possible to ensure that they've given them time.
International, just to come in here, international banks, the deadline is March 31st, 2026. International banks must reach 200 billion. National banks, 200 billion. Regional banks, 50 billion. And merchant banks, 50 billion. Non-interest banks, 20 billion.
There's 500 billion, there's 200 billion, and it goes on like that. National banks are those who operate across the country. International banks are those who operate both in Nigeria and across the world. So where was I? So I think time has been given, and the structure in which the CBN has said capitalization is going to be this time, I think, in my own opinion, although some people have fought back against it, without your reserves, meaning that shareholders' funds doesn't count as it, meaning that you need to actually bring in fresh money, which for me makes sense, because that way...
So what happens to the banks that don't have that can't meet up?
Well,
with the
so if you don't meet up to the requirement, I don't know what the rules will be, or what the rules are standard are. You probably forfeit your banking
Or you'll
license.
be acquired,
Or, you could be acquired. There could be mergers. So there are those who are planning mergers between now and March 31. There are those who feel that some of those banks might not be able to meet it. You could be acquired because where the areas of specialties are, you could tap into that. But
Okay.
Sorry to cut. Yeah, I know we're talking about money, and it's very important we respect and pay attention to money, as we have to go pay some bills if we want to collect 14th, 15th, and 16th month in 2026. We'll go on a quick break, and when we return, we'll continue our conversation. You stay with us. To help us go through the newspaper front pages with analysis. We just finished our talk on bank recapitalization.
Yeah. But before we go ahead, excuse me, let's also mention to our audience that this is the point where we open the phone lines. The numbers to call on your TV screen. We'll take a few calls today, and then we'll take comments from YouTube as well. Feel free to drop your comment in the chat box on YouTube. Let's now take more stories on the front pages.
Yes, and the big story, the good news. I mean, with a pinch of salt, because earlier today, like I said, we had the president of SANU, so it's not yet Uhuru. But finally, FGASU sealed deal unveil new agreements. Lecturers get a 40% rise in salary and emolument to boost their morale. And
that's Benga's favorite word.
Yeah.
Emolument.
There's a difference between wages, salaries, and emolument.
what's the difference?
Wages is when you're being paid
For what
cash.
you do.
Yes, it's called wages.
Salaries?
Like the wages of sin is debt. Salaries goes to your bank account. Emolument, that one I have to research. I would defer to my learned friend here
thank you.
to tell us what emolument means. But on a serious note, what does this mean for university education in Nigeria? And then the other, because I mean, it takes the triumvirate of ASU, SANU, and NASU to run to proper university administration. Because you can't just have the lecturers, you also have the admin staff, you have other people that do other things in this ivory towers. But you've answered the call of ASU. The other guys are saying, well, congratulations, but hey,
We are here. It feels like even that signing was what triggered them to be like, hey, you settled us, you don't want to settle us. We'll show you people.
And the president of ASU, of NASU rather, he said in 2009 they had a 27
Point agenda.
That out of that 27, they've only fulfilled 2. So that's mass failure. That's like 98%. And how do we move on from here? What do you make of this news?
Well, so good news to the lecturers who will get 40% increase.
That's massive.
Well, I don't know how massive that is, depending on how much they earn now. However, I think this is my opinion, and I know people will chop me raw for this, but I think university autonomy is long overdue. And what do I mean by that? Universities should be able to be autonomous to raise the kind of funds that they require to run the university system. And why do I say that? Because, you know, education, especially when it comes to tertiary education, and for at least the three of us sitting here, we know how expensive it can be. We've seen Nigerians, not just Nigerians, across Africa leave their countries and go abroad and pay so much money for doing a master's for 1 year. But nobody wants to pay. And mostly Nigeria, because in Ghana, I think they do pay some commensurate amount of money in terms of fees. Because even when
international students have to take the burden, yeah.
Well, international students all over the world take the burden. But it doesn't mean that the local students don't pay what the country feels is commensurate. Like I say, I'm fortunate to have gone through education, all my education in Nigeria. And of course, we did pay school fees. And at that point in time, in my own opinion, I think it might have been a bit lower because there was subsidy and there was monies in the system. However, we've gotten to a point whereby I think tertiary education fees should actually go up.
Oh, that's why you said a lot of people.
Yes, they should
after
go.
benefiting from
Well,
after using the land.
So you know, I did this analogy in the 70s when government, not as many people in universities, not as many universities. Naira was 60 kobo to $1. In the 80s, it had gone to about 4 naira. By the 90s, it was already hitting 40 naira. And then you just continue. But university fees really haven't gone up in commensurate amount. Now, all over the world, local students pay maybe about a fifth of what international students pay. And if you have children that school in America, Canada, you pay at least $4,000 to $5,000 every year for education. And I'm not telling us to pay $4,000 to $5,000 every year, but let's pay an amount that we think is reasonable.
How much difference
What would
before we
be?
go?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because we have to go. We're trying
And
to squeeze
also
in.
the student loan.
Yeah.
How much difference
and then
does
it gives you a good opportunity to actually now say, oh, this student loan can work better. Why? Because at the end of the day, even in all these countries where you talk about these things, they have loans, they have grants. And when the students come out and they get jobs, they start to pay. Now, when you don't do, if how do you fund universities? Research, which is a huge part of where funding comes to universities, both internally and externally. How do you get those things to be done? And that's why you've seen the level of research in Nigeria drop so much. So yes, in my own opinion, I think when you look at the fees that are paid by private universities, depending on the cost, between 2 million and 4 million, I think is the right amount to pay. I think it is the right amount to pay.
All right.
And that's my opinion.
All right. We'll come back to continue with the review of the front pages of the newspaper. But let's get your thoughts on the match as well.
Okay,
It's one of the stories on the front page. If you look at the Punch newspaper.
And so I hear what he said about Chukwueze. And if you are someone who follows football or is an ardent football follower or a player, you find out that maybe 6 or 7 out of 10 times, players that you bring in just before the end of the game, they've not even warmed up or anything for penalty shootouts.
Lethargic, yeah.
They miss the penalties.
Binga, what did I say?
So that's that. That's one. Then two, when everybody, yes, there were some questionable decisions by the referee. But yes, the yellow card, I don't think it was a yellow card. However, the Moroccans were the better side on the night. They outplayed us in the midfield. They won most of the 50, not statistically, I watched this game. Most of the 50-50 balls, they got it. So what they did was they crowded us out of the midfield. Although some people say, oh, because they didn't play. No, because that was a strategy and they had seen the Nigerians play. The Nigerians always had the midfield through moving. And yes, they were still mobile, but every time someone like Wobi had the ball, at least 2 Moroccans were going to high pressing. So let's be honest with it. The Moroccans were, in my own opinion, that we got to the 120. So for the 120 minutes, they had 5 shots at goal on target, 5. Danwabali had, I'm talking about 3 that he saved, and if he didn't save it, they were goals.
So you don't think Ndidi not being part of the team was a factor?
Who?
Ndidi.
In my own opinion, even if Ndidi had played, it wouldn't have affected it.
Well, the coach already said that. The coach already
because
said that.
the Moroccans were faster, they were more determined to the ball, they crowded us out, they high pressed us like we used to high press.
I feel like they already knew our
They had a 12th player
and aside from
in
the crowd, they knew the Moroccans played 5 midfielders.
So they came with a superior tactic.
Which is unlike how the Moroccans have played all through this competition, even when they played Cameroon. So let's give Chukwueze a break.
The better side.
Give Bruno. Bruno was probably one of our best defenders yesterday because he pocketed. No. He pocketed Raheem Diaz all through
Real Madrid.
Yes, and he had to be substituted. He made some of the most telling crosses, and also really Morocco won free and fair. Penalty shootouts are the lottery. Unfortunately, we missed 2. They also missed 1, and they scored 4. So.
And you know what? The government would not be so happy. Anyway, on the positive side, the government would have saved $100,000.
Exactly, because after what happened with the girls.
Well, I can't. You know, if I say this on live TV, people would hate me. But I would leave it. Maybe after the show, I'll tell you what I had said and I thought about it.
And now Nigerians have left football. They are back
So we can come back to the realities of today.
and realities of our nation.
Yeah.
And
Okay, let's get into the realities. Let's see the front page of the Nigerian Tribune. And I particularly want us to take the story on the top right corner of the paper. 2 more lawmakers withdraw support for impeachment. This is definitely
two more after that first two.
So it's now 4.
So it's now 4.
Out of
Wait, so is it
27.
2 more?
Yes, now.
Yeah,
They said
because,
2 more.
I mean, two
2 more
lawmakers.
lawmakers, yes, that's true. So that's 2 plus 2, 4. What do you think is happening behind the scenes? Is
The politics is being played.
You think something is happening behind the scenes, or
Definitely.
it's not just out of their volition?
Out of their good heart.
Their good heart. And by the way, the government...
it could be out of their good heart, but politics is still being played.
This Thursday, I mean today, will make it 1 week since that impeachment notice has been served. But the communication from the government side
Yeah.
is that they are yet to receive a CTC of they're only seeing it on the front page.
And so maybe they haven't submitted it to the
Right address.
Well, maybe it hasn't come officially to the office of the governor.
Okay, that's another issue.
Yeah,
So,
but I do think there's a lot of politics going on behind. I think we spoke about this last week, when we were talking about the Minister of Federal Capital Territory touring touring River State, whether he didn't have work to do in Abuja. So everybody's playing their politics, and maybe this is something that he has to step back and decide how he wants to go going forward.
Well, it's very interesting to see how this has turned out, especially because I don't know if this is enough to weaken the influence that the FCT minister has on River State. That was his base, his political structure, and he had said that Fubara coming out for a second term would totally crumble his. That is
it will lead to his
political
political death.
Death, yes. I always, anytime I think about that, I always imagine him saying over my dead body.
And so those who are, you see, the other thing, I always laugh when everybody says, the best politician I've seen in the last 25 years is the current president of Nigeria.
Yeah.
In terms of politics,
What did you hear me say?
yes.
In terms of politics, he has always known how to bring people together, those who have who are disgruntled. He knows how to manage them and keep his peace. And I guess that's what he's doing in River State.
Okay. Let's take more stories. On the front page of the Punch, we're looking at the Nigerian Tribune. On the front page, federal government asked to unveil agreement to end prolonged university crisis. We've taken that as well. NGX confirmed listing of 3.156 billion UBA shares. NGC recommends Justice Oyewole for Supreme Court, 35 orders for judicial appointments. Clears Osun State CJ of alleged misconduct. Bone discovery could lead to exercise in appeal for osteoporosis. Why Kano's defection to APC is delayed? Now, there was a conversation about Governor Yusuf Abba defecting to the APC. Initially, we then saw the video of the NNPP, what's his name? The NNPP leader, the man who... Kwankwaso, thank you. Kwankwaso saying that people who defect, that if they defect, they will lose, they will not succeed, sort of. And now we then saw potential of him defecting to or aligning himself with whoever will be willing to give him the role of vice president or president. But we'll come into the details of Kano. Let's take a call. We have Uche
from Abia.
From Abia State. Good morning, Uche.
Hello, good morning, Uche.
Uche, are you there or are you gone?
Okay, we seem to have some connection issues with
All right.
Uche.
Hello, good morning.
All right, we can hear you now, Uche. Please go ahead. Good morning. Thanks for calling. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thank you for having me. 2 lawmakers from River State have now changed their mind. 2 lawmakers, making it 4. By next week, you will hear 4 more lawmakers, have changed their mind too. The next thing you people will hear, Wike will go back to River State. Second missionary judge. It will continue. Let me tell you, he who laughs last, laughs the best. They will laugh at Wike. God bless you people.
Thank you very much.
That's quite bold. He says he will laugh last, laughs best.
Yeah.
And they will laugh at Wike.
Oh, yes.
You
In my
think
own
so?
opinion. Oh, yes. They've started laughing at him. They've been laughing at him for the last...
It's not about who laughs. They are laughing at him now, but are they going to have the last laugh? He always feels like he has something up his sleeve.
Oh, no,
it's
no,
like
no,
an
no.
onion.
Oh, no.
The more you peel, the
so
more you realize
when
he
you are
has
playing,
others.
so it's like an onion. Are you with me? The person you are playing politics with is like an onion that makes your eyes pepper. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Okay. Since we're talking about food condiments, onions and garlic, maybe we should move on to another newspaper here
Yes,
because of
let's
the
move to the
time we
Punch.
have left.
Let's
move
punch
to the
them with the Punch.
There's one big story here I'd really like us to look at. Beyond the United States visa shockwave, Trump order may delay 5,000 intending Nigerian immigrants. There's also federal government orders fintechs to remit VAT on service fees. So on the fees they charge,
Yes.
the government will be charging the service providers, not directly to customers. They
No.
will be charging.
No.
What
so
does that mean?
so the commissions and all,
They'll pay VAT on the
they'll pay
commission.
VAT on their own
Okay.
commissions charge. It's standard.
Okay, that's great.
standard
so
practice.
This is what you call expanding the net. But let's take IK from Owerri. Good
Please turn down the volume of your TV set before you call in, as it's interrupting with the quality of the call. Thank you. All right, we'll have to disconnect that. Call us back, please.
The main story I want us to take is because it's a huge amount of money and people have been questioning it. Opposition knocks federal government over alleged $9 million US lobbying deal. And the details of that story says the African Democratic Congress, the People's Democratic Party, and the new Nigeria People's Party and Labour Party have criticized the Tinubu administration reports that the federal government approved $9 million contract for lobbying firms in the United States, describing it as an attempt to polish Nigeria's image abroad while citizens continue to grapple with rising insecurity and economic hardship. In a statement signed by the ADC Public Secretary, the ADC said the spending demonstrated misplaced priorities, stressing no amount of paid lobbying will cover for the bloodshed or the government's failure to safeguard lives and property. What do you make of this story? I mean,
Well, and I agree with no amount of money spent by any government where there is a high level of insecurity, would change what is happening in the country. So if you were trying to, this is my opinion, if you were trying to, what's it called, polish your image, and you could see the facts on ground, insecurity have dropped significantly, terrorists and their sponsors have been arrested and tried, and so on and so forth, then you have that kind of evidence. But let's also remember that, you know, the government itself will also tell you that they have hard facts and hard evidence and data, which for security purposes they might not be able to share it with Nigerians, but they can share it with the US authority because they want to also assist us in fighting insecurity so that they can know how far they've gone. But standard anywhere in the world, when you're lobbying, you don't go there. It's not just your external affairs minister or your external affairs team or the ambassador. You get those lobbyists, and of course they charge money, and that's standard in America. 9 million, I don't know whether that's the right amount or not, but the fact remains that if you're not doing the right things at home,
well, how about you spending that money on critical weapons and materials and things you need to do to deal with insecurity?
Yeah, for you.
Why do you have to paint a certain image to
No.
a foreign government?
So, what kind of image? So, let's always be careful. Do you understand? And
no, because lobbying implies that you want to paint a particular picture. Public relations.
Not necessarily. I want to share my own about what is happening.
And I need to pay $9 million to do
Oh,
that.
yeah, because to get to some places, you need to get those people to get you into those rooms. Are you with me? They've been able to get into the room with the Americans, and the Americans have said, oh, they would support you in fighting insecurity. That's one part. But you also have to share those things across board. And so it's not just the president or one senator or one rep member. It's across constituents, even Nigerians who are members of those constituents. I'm not telling you that it's right or wrong or the amount is justified.
Right.
What I'm saying is these things, a number of these things are done this way. Are you with me? How much it is, I don't know, and I can't tell you for sure. But for you to be able to get some particular kind of information across board, of course you need these people. It's the same way you need people in Nigeria, whether they are PR agents that would help you push the data that you can't share to the public, are you with me, in a systematic way so that those who are meant to see it will see it and believe that things are going on. So I'll leave it at that.
There's a story I'm seeing here. 33-year-old dispatch rider Yahaya Nuru was on Wednesday convicted and sentenced to a total of 7 years imprisonment by the Federal High Court sitting in Lagos for the unlawful distribution of large quantities of tramadol and other prohibited drugs. It's on the front page of the Punch, bottom corner of the paper. Lagos dispatch rider back 7-year jail term for trafficking tramadol.
Well, so I'm glad that that went through. However, to get tramadol is just go to the nearest.
So that's my concern.
So the thing for me is, what is the government, that's Lagos State, doing, and the healthcare system doing to eradicate all this kind of sale of even Panadol at the nearest.
So for me, it's like they have
counter,
become very creative, right? They've become creative. They've gotten to the point of using bikes. They're using, you see a dispatch, and I think it's a normal dispatch that is going to deliver food.
Well,
and it's going to traffic drugs. It's moving drugs about.
Yeah, so let's remember one thing. Is when you want your business to grow, you grow with the times. And that's the reality. So if your own system as a government is not high level enough to check those things,
right,
then who are you to blame? It's like saying that the Colombians who fly drugs from Colombia into Mexico and then run them through tunnels. They're trying to run a business. It's illegal.
And try to beat the system too.
Exactly.
So we now have to think of creative ways to get ahead of them.
And that's it.
And
that's what the system should do.
Drug problem in Nigeria.
I know you remember the documentary, the BBC documentary on tramadol.
And some of them are actually prescription drugs that should be over the. They should never be over the counter. On counter drugs. They should be strictly on prescription.
Okay, a few comments.
Okay,
go ahead.
Another sad one here. NPAN, Nigerian Guild of Editors, Mon Newswatch co-founder Yakubu Mohammed.
Yes, I just got to the news at 9. Really sad.
He was 75.
Yeah. And this is happening after the co-founder, Dan Agbese, died a few months ago. Very, very sad. And he had a book launch, I believe it was in November or December, sometime last quarter.
Well, they contributed so much to the media, yes. and may he so rest in peace. And for me, the last thing is, thank you for what you've done in terms of reporting and media coverage in Nigeria, because it set the Newswatch actually set the pace for a number of news magazines, and today what you find as online media, which you can call news magazines.